is one of my biggest regrets.
Oprah Winfrey says she feels partly responsible. And one of her biggest regrets, she says, was
when you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that is. So imagine that for over a period of months and years, and you know that it isn't true.
Some reports and online discussions have suggested that media icon Oprah Winfrey may have privately reflected on her high-profile interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. According to unverified insider claims circulating in entertainment circles, she may have expressed regret about how the conversation unfolded and the global reaction that followed. These claims have not been confirmed publicly by Oprah herself. Please subscribe. It cost you nothing, but it truly so much to me. However, they have continued to attract attention, largely because the 2021 television special became one of the most talked-about media moments in recent royal history. The interview reshaped public conversations about the British monarchy, race, mental health, and media influence. Observers note that after the broadcast, Oprah appeared to distance herself from ongoing royal commentary.
Oprah wanting to distance herself from Meghan.
She says she's not very friendly with Meghan.
She did not frequently revisit the topic in subsequent interviews or public appearances, something that some commentators have interpreted as a sign of caution or reconsideration. Others argue that her silence may simply reflect a desire to avoid prolonging controversy.
Deeply regrets the royal racist controversy and is very sorry. What do you make of that? All of these regrets, isn't it too late?
According to individuals described in some reports as being connected to television production circles, concerns may have emerged soon after the interview aired. These sources claim that internal conversations questioned whether the program had functioned more as a platform for personal storytelling than as a traditional journalistic examination. At the same time, fact-checking debates and official responses from royal sources began circulating in the media.
I would have taken the Sussexes. So I get a call from Prince Harry on Easter Saturday, and he says, "Sorry to bother you, but..."
These developments contributed to shifting public opinion in different directions, with supporters praising the openness of the discussion, while critics argued that some claims required more scrutiny. Entertainment analysts suggest that the long-term impact of the interview remains complex. On one hand, it significantly increased global visibility for Harry and Meghan's narrative. On the other, it also intensified divisions in public perception and sparked ongoing media coverage that has continued for years.
The most important thing for them, before I do any interview, I have a conversation with whoever I'm interviewing and ask, tell me what your intention is, and I will tell you what my intention is, and let's see if we can align those two, because I don't want you to finish an interview and at the end of the interview say, I wish I had said.
Within Hollywood and media circles, speculation about Oprah's private views continues to surface periodically, though no direct statements have been verified. For some observers, the situation highlights the broader risks associated with high-stakes televised conversations involving powerful institutions and deeply personal allegations. Whether or not any private regrets exist,
the color of the baby's skin. You asked Harry about it when he came out. He did not tell you who it was. Harry still is choosing to protect the identity of whoever that was.
Yes, and he did not share the identity with me that it was not his grandmother nor his grandfather that were a part of those conversations.
The interview is widely regarded as a defining moment in modern celebrity journalism. It demonstrated how a single broadcast can influence global narratives, reshape reputations, and trigger lasting debates about media responsibility, storytelling, and public trust. Today, discussions about that interview still resurface whenever new developments related to the royal family or the Sussexes appear in the headlines.
What's the secret to your eternal personal glow?
Well, Harry.
Meg-goo, celebrating the sexy earth goddess in all of us.
For many commentators, while the episode serves as a reminder of how quickly public perception can shift and how difficult it can be for any major media figure to fully control the long-term consequences of a moment that captures worldwide attention. Some media commentators and unnamed sources have suggested that Oprah Winfrey's public silence following her high-profile interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry may have been intentional rather than coincidental. According to these reports, individuals described as being close to the situation believe Oprah rarely expresses regret openly unless there are significant concerns behind the scenes.
Posting up pathetic pictures. This is me eating sushi. Like me. This is me 25 years ago when I was hot. Like me. Oh, it's fucking sad.
These claims remain unverified, but they have continued to circulate in entertainment coverage. Some insiders allege that questions may have begun forming for Oprah almost immediately after filming concluded. On what initially appeared to be a landmark television moment, one expected to be followed by reflection and then closure, is now described in some accounts as having taken on a more personal dimension for the veteran broadcaster.
This preposterous pair sitting down, giving that interview, that awful interview to Oprah Winfrey, calling the royal family racists, false.
There's a conversation with you,
with Harry,
about how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh.
Observers have revisited small details from the televised conversation itself. During the broadcast, Oprah was seen pausing between certain questions and occasionally appearing to reflect before continuing. At the time, many viewers interpreted this as part of her established interviewing style.
My wife is not visibly black, but that's who she is. The way that they speak about her and the way they treat her is incredibly relatable to everybody else of color.
When you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that.
However, some reports now speculate that these pauses may have reflected uncertainty developing in real time. One moment, frequently referenced in these discussions, involves the segment filmed near a chicken coop at the couple's Montecito property. On screen, the scene appeared informal and symbolic, presenting Harry and Meghan in a domestic, relaxed setting. According to later claims from unnamed sources, elements of the setting may have been arranged or refreshed shortly before filming. These assertions have not been independently confirmed, but they have contributed to wider speculation about how the interview was staged and presented.
I was doing an interview to offer them a platform to tell their story about why they left. And that was my number one intention, was just clarity on why did you leave? And so some of the things that were revealed in that interview came as a surprise to me, and those surprises are now referred to as bombshell.
Individuals described as having production knowledge have also alleged that Oprah reviewed the edited program more than once prior to broadcast. During one viewing, she reportedly remained quiet, while during another, she is said to have expressed concerns about how certain moments might be perceived over time. These claims, however, rely on anonymous accounts and have not been substantiated by public statements. An additional report suggests that editorial control became a sensitive topic behind the scenes. According to these accounts, there may have been requests, either directly or through intermediaries.
And now people say reconciliation, reconciliation. We hope the brothers reconcile. What do you say?
I do not get into people's family matters. Nobody consults me about their family business, so I try to stay out of people's family business.
Related to reviewing or shaping the final version of the program. Media analysts note that Oprah has historically maintained strong control over the structure and presentation of her interviews, making any such discussions potentially significant if they did occur. Some commentators argue that the broader issue may have involved differing expectations. From one perspective, the interview was intended to provide a personal narrative platform. From another, critics suggest it may have functioned partly as a strategic media moment within a larger effort to shape public perception following the couple's departure from royal duties. As reports also describe conversations between Oprah and longtime colleague Gayle King in the days after the broadcast. According to speculative coverage, King may have mentioned that similar storytelling ideas had been discussed in other media contexts. These claims have fueled interpretations that Oprah may have reassessed the interview's purpose after realizing the wider scope of proposed projects connected to the Sussex's public image. Further unverified accounts cite individuals described as having worked within Meghan Markle's professional team.
Everybody who has experienced some challenges in their families with in-laws or brothers or sisters knows how difficult some of those situations can be. And I'm sure that, for the royal family, it's no different.
These sources reportedly portrayed the interview as part of a broader communication strategy rather than purely an emotional disclosure. It is important to note that such claims remain anonymous and contested, and no definitive evidence has been presented publicly. Some analysts also point to suggestions that Oprah may have received informal warnings before the interview was recorded. According to these narratives, messages from people said to be within Prince Harry's wider circle urged caution about the framing of personal accounts. Whether such warnings were genuine or influential remains unclear. Over time, speculation about Oprah's private reflections has grown into a larger media storyline. Entertainment commentators argue that high-stakes interviews often involve complex dynamics, balancing empathy, journalistic scrutiny, and audience expectations. In hindsight, some believe the program became not only a personal testimony, but also a defining moment in the Sussex's evolving media strategy. And there are also reports that subsequent proposals for additional projects, including documentaries or further interviews, may have reinforced perceptions that the original broadcast was part of a longer narrative arc. For some observers, this interpretation has shaped the belief that Oprah may have felt used as an initial platform rather than a final destination for the couple's story. Despite ongoing discussion, Oprah Winfrey has not publicly confirmed any regret or dissatisfaction related to the interview. As a result, much of the current conversation remains grounded in speculation, anonymous sourcing, and retrospective analysis of a cultural event that continues to influence royal coverage, celebrity media strategies, and debates about authenticity in televised storytelling. According to various entertainment reports and unnamed industry sources, a turning point in Oprah Winfrey's private assessment of her interview with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle may have come sometime after the broadcast aired. These accounts, which remain unverified, suggest that Oprah allegedly held internal discussions with members of her production team about the long-term implications of the interview and the way it had been received. One frequently cited claim describes a phone call Oprah reportedly made to a longtime executive producer. Sources familiar with the alleged conversation say her tone was calm but decisive, signaling that she did not intend to pursue further projects involving the Sussexes. In these reports, insiders describe her as expressing disappointment over what she believed had been a good-faith attempt to provide an open platform for personal storytelling. It is important to note that Oprah Winfrey has not publicly confirmed any such remarks, and much of the narrative surrounding this moment relies on anonymous sourcing. Still, speculation about a shift in her stance has continued circulating in entertainment media. Observers who follow Hollywood dynamics often point out that changes in tone within the industry do not always appear through dramatic headlines or public criticism. Instead, they may unfold more subtly, through reduced visibility, fewer invitations, or a cooling of enthusiasm around potential collaborations. Some insiders claim that this kind of quiet distancing began to affect perceptions of Meghan Markle in certain professional circles after the interview. According to these reports, public relations teams and producers who had previously shown interest in working with Meghan allegedly became more cautious. One unnamed streaming executive was quoted in entertainment coverage, suggesting that when influential figures appear to step back from a relationship, others may follow to avoid reputational risk. Such statements reflect individual perspectives rather than confirmed industry policy. Anecdotes from high-profile social events have also been cited as examples of changing attitudes. Sources described a charity gala in Hollywood where Meghan was said to have expected a warm reception, but instead encountered a more reserved atmosphere. These accounts include claims that some celebrities avoided photo opportunities or adjusted seating arrangements. However, these stories remain difficult to verify and are often based on second-hand descriptions rather than direct confirmation from those involved. Entertainment analysts note that moments like these can become symbolic in media narratives, representing broader shifts in perception even when the underlying facts are unclear. Over time, repeated anecdotes can contribute to a sense that reputations are evolving behind the scenes. Reports further suggest that attempts were made through intermediaries to rebuild connections with individuals close to Oprah's professional network. Some insiders allege that responses were limited or non-existent, reinforcing the impression of growing distance. One producer, quoted anonymously in coverage, described the situation in stark terms, emphasizing that trust and long-term alliances are highly valued in the entertainment industry. At the same time, commentators caution that Hollywood relationships are complex and fluid. Public figures often experience cycles of intense attention followed by quieter periods, and strategic repositioning is common. From this perspective, what some interpret as exclusion or reputational damage may also reflect routine industry recalibration. There have also been suggestions that project development involving Meghan Markle slowed during this period. Reports mention postponed meetings, prolonged contract negotiations, and reduced enthusiasm from certain studios. Again, these claims rely largely on unnamed sources and have not been confirmed through official statements. For some observers, the broader takeaway is less about a single interview and more about how quickly public narratives can shift. In modern media culture, telling personal stories and building a brand are often encouraged strategies. However, analysts argue that once influential figures or institutions begin reassessing their support, momentum can change rapidly. Meanwhile, Oprah Winfrey herself has maintained public silence on these matters. Industry commentators frequently note that such silence can be interpreted in multiple ways, as discretion, neutrality, or strategic distance. Because she remains one of the most influential figures in entertainment, even perceived changes in her relationships can generate significant speculation. Overall, the situation illustrates how reputations in Hollywood are shaped not only by public events, but also by informal networks, private perceptions, and evolving alliances. While insiders continue to discuss possible tensions and shifts in support, definitive conclusions remain difficult to draw without direct confirmation from the key individuals involved. According to entertainment insiders and media commentators, Meghan Markle is said to have expressed private frustration over the uncertainty surrounding her public reception following the high-profile Oprah Winfrey interview. One unnamed source claimed she questioned the reaction she was encountering behind the scenes, reportedly suggesting she believed audiences wanted honesty and that she had simply tried to provide it. However, individuals familiar with industry discussions argue that the concerns circulating in professional circles were not necessarily focused on the content of her story itself. Instead, some executives and observers were said to be more focused on how the narrative had been presented and managed. Analysts note that in Hollywood, the perception of strategic storytelling can sometimes carry as much weight as the story being told. By this stage, according to multiple reports, the situation had evolved beyond a single interview or disagreement. Commentators describe what they call a gradual reputational shift, one that spread informally through private conversations, internal messages, and closed-door meetings across parts of the entertainment industry. And media experts point out that once a narrative begins moving through professional networks in this way, it can be difficult to reverse because it is rarely addressed directly or publicly. Some insiders suggest that Oprah Winfrey's apparent decision to create distance from the Sussexes, though never formally confirmed, became a symbolic moment for many industry figures. Observers say that such signals from highly influential personalities can shape broader perceptions even without public statements or visible conflict. Reports claim that the momentum surrounding Meghan's post-royal media ambitions, which had once appeared strong, from podcast partnerships to streaming opportunities, began to slow during this period. Analysts emphasize that this shift was not necessarily driven by scandal or a single controversy, but by something Hollywood often views as more concerning: the risk of fading relevance. According to unnamed sources, certain public relations firms that had previously shown strong interest in representing Meghan reportedly became more cautious. Likewise, some studios were said to have paused or reconsidered meetings, while streaming platforms allegedly delayed proposals connected to future projects. Industry commentators often frame such developments as part of a broader recalibration rather than definitive rejection. Observers also note that in entertainment circles, influence and trust frequently operate as informal currencies. When a prominent figure is perceived to be reassessing a relationship, decision-makers may interpret this as a signal to proceed carefully. And while no official confirmation exists that Oprah communicated such a stance, speculation about her changing position has continued to circulate in media coverage. Sources close to the situation suggest that for Meghan, the impact of this evolving perception may have felt more complex than earlier waves of criticism. Unlike public controversies that can be addressed through statements or interviews, quiet resistance, such as delayed responses, postponed meetings, or projects gradually losing momentum, can be harder to confront directly. Some insiders claim that even supporters who had previously spoken out in her defense began adopting a more measured tone. In certain private discussions, Meghan was reportedly described as highly strategic in her approach to media narratives, a characterization that can be interpreted positively or negatively depending on context. According to reports, Meghan attempted to stabilize the situation by exploring new creative ideas, reaching out through mutual professional contacts, and maintaining positive public remarks about Oprah Winfrey. However, individuals familiar with industry dynamics say these efforts did not immediately alter the broader perception that had begun to take shape. Analysts stress that this situation highlights unwritten rules that often shape Hollywood decision-making. Professional alliances, personal trust, and perceived credibility can influence opportunities just as strongly as formal contracts or public reputation. When alignment with a major media gatekeeper appears to weaken, observers say the ripple effects can extend across multiple sectors of the industry. Some commentators argue that Oprah's continued public silence has been particularly notable. In entertainment culture, silence from influential figures can sometimes be interpreted as meaningful, even when no explicit judgment has been expressed. For this reason, speculation about what she may privately think or feel continues to generate interest. Ultimately, media experts suggest that the broader challenge for Meghan may not be a traditional reputational crisis, but the gradual recalibration of influence, a process that unfolds quietly over time. In an industry driven by connections, perception, and timing, even subtle shifts in trust or enthusiasm can reshape professional trajectories. As Meghan Markle moves forward into new ventures and public appearances, observers say the key question will be whether she can redefine her narrative and rebuild momentum within an environment that is constantly evolving. In Hollywood, reinvention is common, but so is intense scrutiny. For many commentators, this moment represents less a definitive turning point and more an ongoing transition, shaped by competing interpretations, private conversations, and the unpredictable nature of media influence.